On today's episode of the Ag Irrigation Collective, we're going to visit about NRCS code 533. Stick around. Hi, I'm Wes Schaefer, your host with the Ag Irrigation Collective. Sure appreciate you stopping by to visit with us today. We're going to take a look at a document that is put out by the NRCS. And actually, last week's episode, I talked about code 372, which is a document that refers to combustion engine replacement. And this one actually was referred to in that last document. And this one's called 533, pumping plant. Pumping plant code 533. The definition of this document is a facility that delivers water or wastewater at a designated pressure and flow rate. The purpose of this code 533, this practice is used to accomplish one or more of the following purposes: deliver water for improved plant condition, livestock, or wetlands. Removes excessive subsurface or surface water. It provides efficient use of water on irrigated land. Transfer of livestock waste or liquid byproducts as part of a wastewater transfer system, and it reduces energy use. So, condition where this practice applies is the next section here that we're going to get into. This practice applies where conservation objectives require the addition of energy to either pressurize and transfer water from a surface or underground source to irrigated lands, wetlands, livestock watering facilities, or reservoirs, or transfer water for fire protection, or transfer of manure, wastewater, or liquid byproducts. And the final bullet point there is remove surface runoff or excessive subsurface water. The pumping plant includes one or more pumps and associated power units, plumbing, and may include pressure tanks, on-site fuel or energy source, and protective structures. For a combustion system replacement, repowering, or retrofit associated with the pumping plant, for example, pumping plant power unit, for an air quality or energy purpose, use NRCS Conservation Practice Standard, Code 372. That's the one we discussed last week. And so if it's going to retrofit or repower or replace the system, that is the code you use, is 372, the one we referenced last week. The criteria for this code, 533, is plan, design, and construct all pumping plants to comply with federal, state, tribal, and local laws and regulations. That's not bad to do. Pump requirements: select pumps to meet design flow rate, range of operating pressures, and pump type requirements of the application. Basically, make your pump work like it should. Don't cheap out on it and get littler than you should, as I think the main purpose of that. Document how the proposed pump meets the requirements using manufacturer's supplied pump curves and other technical data. As a pump manufacturer and a pump distributor, I know how important those pump curve charts can be. So make sure you do get those. Those are very handy. Of course, the NRCS is going to require that you show them to them for approval purposes. So anyway, make sure and get your pump curves from your pump distributor and pump supplier. Select pump materials based on the physical and chemical qualities of the material being pumped, the operating environment, and the manufacturer's recommendations. For example, if you're pumping slurry water out of your dairy, you probably ought to be having some stainless steel or better materials, as well as the gasketing materials need to be of different quality for that type of acidic product rolling through your pump. For your power unit, select a pump drive unit based on the availability of cost of power, operating conditions, need for automation, and other site-specific objectives. Match drive units to the pump requirements so the pumping plant can operate efficiently and effectively within the planned range of conditions. Size the pump drive unit to meet the horsepower requirements of the pump, including efficiency, service labor, and environmental conditions. You know, that's one thing that I see a lot of people, farmers, occasional NRCS agents, when they're referring to a pump and they say, hey, I need a 20 horse pump. Well, the pump, for one, is coupled to a 20 horse motor. However, you can throw a bunch of different pump heads on to that same 20 horse motor, and so it's going to do a lot of different things. So a 20 horse pump really is not going to get you where you need to be. The motor might, but there's far more to it than just being a 20 horsepower. So keep that in mind as you're looking for pumps. Electric drive units may include line power and wind or water powered turbines. Install electrical system to meet the requirements of the National Electric Code. Other drive units may include power takeoff, so the PTO off your tractor, diesel, gasoline, propane. Ensure that diesel power units meet the U.S. EPA Tier 3 or higher engine technology. Meet applicable designs criteria in NRCS or industry standard for renewable energy power units and install units in accordance with the manufacturer recommendations. So, and then it goes into using windmills, water-powered pumps, which are hydraulic rams, PTO-driven pumps, VFDs. So we're going to talk about the windmills a little bit, not much. Size pumping units according to the pumping lifts and capacities as specified based on the diameter of the mill and the stroke length of the average wind speed. So I think, and I'm pretty confident with this, windmills, and please correct me if I'm wrong, are really only capable of producing enough lift to basically fill water troughs. I don't believe windmills have enough power and oomph to like power a pivot as far as like with the water pressure. So I don't know that that's the case. PTO-driven pump, size pump according to the delivery rate required at the outlet. Match the pump size to the available operating equipment in addition to the pump demand. When using a VFD, prior to installation, it is the landowner's responsibility to inform the electric power provider of the proposed VFD installation, which is variable frequency drive. Ensure that the power provider standards are met regarding potential harmonics and other interference issues. We have found within our system that it is some occasions where you do need some line filters, depending upon the brand of VFD that you are installing, so it doesn't throw off other things. I will tell you, we have seen some instances with some corner pivots that have corner swing arms on them that run on buried wire guidance. And the minute like a large VFD gets put into place, it will completely throw that antennas into a tizzy, and you need to change antenna, the hertz of those antennas. I think they were an 833 and we had to go to a 9 something or the 1200s. I don't remember exactly which, but they keep an eye on stuff like that as you're throwing VFDs in as well, that there may be some repercussions down the line. So then it goes into the requirements of the suction and discharge pipes, making sure all your stuff's just right there. Your buildings and accessories. It wants you to mount floating pumps on floating structures as designed by the manufacturer. Support submersible pumps by a column pipe sufficient to support the pump and static and dynamic loads, or provide additional support by stainless steel cable. For all other pumps, securely mount on a solid foundation such as pilings or concrete. Design the foundation to safely support the loads imposed by the pumping plant and appurtenances. What in the world is that word? Appurtenances. I have not seen that before. Use sheet piling or other measures as required to prevent piping beneath the structure foundation. Okay, of course, keep safety at top of mind. Additional criteria for providing the efficient use of water include provisions for the connection of flow and pressure measurement devices in the pumping plant system design. So the considerations here when When planning this practice, the following considerations are recommended. The removal of surface water by a pumping plant can affect downstream flows or aquifer recharge volumes. Consider potential long-term impacts downstream of the pumping plant. If using a pumping plant to remove surface or groundwater flowing into a wetland, consider the potential impacts on existing wetland hydrology. The operation and maintenance of a pumping plant can involve the use of fuels and lubricants when spilled, may adversely affect surface or groundwater quality. Consider measures to protect the environment from potential spills. In some cases, secondary containment of spilled fuel may be required by the federal and state laws or regulations. Consider including protective sensors to detect low or stop flow or pressures that are too high or too low. Powered pumps can create noise that reaches nuisance levels to the surrounding environment. Consider selecting energy sources compatible with sensitive areas. Consider mobile photovoltaic panels which is, by the way, a solar panel, for livestock watering facilities to facilitate use in rotational grazing systems. Consider solar panels that track the sun. Those are pretty cool, actually. To reduce energy imported on a farm, consider developing and using on-farm solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources for the pump power unit. So it goes into the plans need to be approved, operation and maintenance, inspect for the pumping plant annually and after significant storm events to identify repair and maintenance needs, inspection or testing of all pumping plant components, proper startup and shutdown procedures for the operation of the pumping plant. For solar panels, changing the tilt angle seasonally if used year-round. That's something that I don't think any that I'm aware of change the angle of their solar panels. Some other considerations: periodic inspection of all safety features to ensure proper placement and function, maintaining records including manufacturer, installation, and operation and maintenance guide, along with records of when equipment is serviced, work performed, and by whom. When applicable, periodically cleaning the solar array of snow, ice, dust, and film to maintain efficiency. So that's all that document goes into. As I said earlier, it's code 533. I will put a link to it in the show notes. I hope these aren't too long-winded and wordy of podcasts here. My intent here is to help you understand what's available, and where I did reference this code 533 in last week's episode, I thought it'd be fitting that we talked about it in this episode. So if you qualify under some of those provisions that we discussed, reach out to your local NRCS agent and see how you can utilize some of these programs within your farming practices and programs. Anyway, if there's any additional documents you want me to go over and take a look at, we can go over those. I sure appreciate you stopping by today. Be profitable, my friends. We'll catch you on down the road.